I mean, it's tough on kids. I said once you move off the farm, children are economic liabilities and the family gets smaller and smaller and smaller. We're down to 1.94 children per family in America today. 1.94. I love that figure. Every time I give it, my son says to my daughter, "You are the .94." But small families in an urban society are very, very different than children raised on farms. I did research on large families in North Dakota. What else is there to do in North Dakota, you know? And I stayed at a family which had 11 children, mother, father, and myself. It was so weird. I mean, in a small family, the child leaving for school in the morning, you can say to the child, "What time would you like dinner?" You say that if you have one child, two children, three children. 11 children, you don't say, "What time would you like dinner?" You say, "John, dinner will be at 5:30. If you're here, you eat." Kid quickly learns. Nobody really cares whether he does show up at 5:30. As a matter of fact, there might be some rejoicing if he doesn't show up at 5:30. I remember sitting down for dinner with his family, and it was lovely. We all held hands and had a time of prayer. You know why we were holding hands? You know why we held our hands while we were praying with our eyes closed? So that nobody would steal the food while the eyes were closed. No, that's true. I mean, in a small family, you'll have a kid say, look at the food and say, "I don't like it. I don't like it." Large family, the kid never says, "I don't like it." If he does, the kid next to him says, "Good, shoom, boom, gone that quickly." The kid goes, I didn't say this, 11 children in this family, mother and father, myself. That's a big crowd. There was one bathroom. You talk about fitting into a schedule in the morning. Every movement was timed, and you can take that any way you want to take it, but you were in there and you were out of there. You fit into a system. The kids then went off to school in the agrarian society, and the typical school had a class of about 40 students. We're now down to about 18 students per class. I don't know whether you go to a PTA meeting, but I was sitting at a table with a teacher. I don't know what they're like here, but I remember going to the Parent Teachers Association meeting when my children were small, and the principal saying, "Here at the Roland School, we try to tailor the education to meet the needs of the individual pupil. We think that each child here at Roland is special, a little flower that blooms in his own way and his own time. And we would do nothing to stifle that child's individuality or creativity." Kind of makes you puke, doesn't it? I mean, when you hear that. The problem is that the child grows up in a family with very few children. He grows up in a family which adapts to the child. Note, small families adapt to the whims and wishes of the children. He then goes off to school, and the school adapts to the whims and wishes of the child. The problem is that sooner or later, that kid's got to go out and work at General Motors. And I guarantee that the manager at General Motors does not say, "Here at GM, we try to tailor the job to meet the needs of the individual worker. We think each employee is special, a little flower that blossoms in his own way and in his own time, and we would do nothing to stifle that child's individuality or creativity." You've got to be kidding. The kid has to learn how to conform. But please understand, this kid has never conformed to anything in his life. The kids in Coldwater have never conformed. They weren't forced to conform in the family. They weren't forced to conform in the school. In all their institutional life, the systems have always adapted to them. They have never had to adapt to a system, and thus they don't want to become adults. You won't understand teenagers unless you understand that fact. I mean, when I was a kid, I wanted to become an adult. Why would any kid want to become an adult? Look at you. I mean, the kid sees you come home from work and your wife says, "Stay away from your father. He just got home." Jeez. nervous, tense, tight. I mean, they come into my office every May as the semester ends and say, well, Doc, I'm not coming back next semester. I try to be professional. Pray tell. Why? You can predict the student's answer. Doc, I need time. I just need some time. And I'm saying to myself, this kid hasn't done anything for the last month and a half. Why do you need time? And you know what he's going to say. I need time to find myself. And they all look in the same place, Boulder, Colorado. Then it gets very stressful. Doc, what I'm trying to tell you is I'm tired of playing all these roles that society has prescribed for me. I'm tired of being the person my family expects me to be, the church expects me to be, my friends expect me to be, the school expects me to be. I want to peel away each of these socially prescribed identities, each of these socially generated selves, and come to grips with the core of my being, the essence of my selfhood. Jeez. And I say, Charlie, suppose after you peel away each of these socially prescribed identities, after you peel away each of these socially generated personas, you discover you're an onion. Well, stop to think about that. If you peel away all the skins of an onion, what do you have left? Nothing. The onion is nothing more than the sum total of its skins. Charlie, maybe after you peel away each of these socially prescribed roles and take that long guru trip into the innermost recesses of your being and get there, hi-ho, nobody's home. You think of all the kids that have taken time off to find themselves. Have you ever met anybody who has? I'm still waiting for somebody to come back and say, oh, Doc, I found myself just north of Cincinnati. Never happens. It's worn-out Neoplatonism that assumes that there is a self waiting to be found. If there's anything that the existentialist philosophers have taught the rest of us in the religious community, it's this: that the self is not an essence waiting to be discovered by introspection. Quite the opposite. The self is an essence waiting to be created. And there's only one way to create an essence. There's only one way to create a core to your personality. And that's through commitment. Commitments define us. You tell me about your commitments, I'll tell you who you are. You say, what if I have no commitments? Then you have no identity. In the words of T.S. Eliot, you are the hollow men, the empty men, blown through and by the wind. You are what you're committed to.